The pastor said, "You're in Texas, now it's a local."
You're in Texas now. It's a local, the pastor said. Auditorium lights blazed across the polished stage, casting an almost divine glow over thousands of expectant faces packed into Houston's most famous venue. Joel Osteen's megachurch, known globally for its magnificence and message of hope, was bursting with capacity. Television cameras from major networks crowded the aisles, red recording lights blinking like watchful eyes, prepared to capture every moment of what would become one of the most shocking encounters in modern religious history. Tonight, for the very first time, President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, the young revolutionary who had electrified Africa and rattled Western power structures, sat face-to-face with America's most powerful televangelist. Nobody knew what was coming. Nobody could have predicted the thunderbolt words about to shatter the silence. Joel Osteen flashed his trademark smile and opened with his signature warmth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are truly blessed tonight. We're joined by a man who has inspired millions, a man of courage, a man of transformation. Please welcome President Ibrahim Traoré. The audience clapped politely, some curious, some skeptical. For most Americans, Traoré was simply another African leader they'd barely heard of, except for whispers about his fiery speeches and his defiance of Western influence. But when he finally stood, the entire hall went silent. His presence commanded instant attention. Unbreakable. He didn't smile for the cameras. He didn't wave at the crowd. He stood tall in his unbuttoned military jacket, eyes cutting through the bright studio lights like steel. "I thank you," Traoré began, his voice calm yet loaded with authority. "I thank you for welcoming me here. But I will not come to entertain you. I will not come to give you comfort. I have come to speak truth, even when truth cuts deep." Joel maintained his polished grin. "That's exactly why we're here tonight, Mr. President. To hear your truth." The audience applauded again. But Traoré raised his hand, demanding silence. And that's when everything changed. Traoré leaned forward, his voice dropping to a rumble. "In my country, Christianity and Islam exist side by side. But too often, both religions become weapons of control. Too often, faith gets twisted into chains instead of wings. And I refuse to stay silent when I see religious leaders, whether in Africa, America, or anywhere, turning the gospel into a business empire. Turning salvation into a product for sale." The crowd gasped audibly. Joel Osteen's famous smile cracked for the first time in years. He tried to interrupt, but Traoré rolled forward like a freight train. "Christianity at its core," Traoré continued, his words slicing through the thick tension, "was never designed to be a performance. Jesus Christ did not die so his name could build wealth empires. He did not suffer on that cross so his message could become motivational entertainment. Christianity is not about comfort, it's about sacrifice. Not about mansions, it's about humility. Not about stage lights and cameras, it's about truth and struggle." Whispers erupted across the audience. Some burst into applause. Others shook their heads in disapproval. Joel shifted uncomfortably in his chair but forced his tone to stay gentle. "Mr. President," Joel said softly, "we believe in spreading hope. We believe in lifting people up. Surely there's nothing wrong with positivity." Traoré locked eyes directly with Osteen. "Hope without truth is deception. Positivity without accountability is poison. You preach to millions, Joel. You preach to broken people, hungry people, desperate people. And instead of giving them the fire of truth, you feed them cotton candy. Sweet words. Empty promises." The church fell into crushing silence. Even the camera operators seemed frozen. "Tell me," Traoré pressed on, "when did you last speak about justice? When did you last condemn corruption in high places? When did you last challenge your audience to fight evil instead of just waiting for blessings?" Joel took a shaky breath, trying to regain control. "I believe in God's goodness. I believe people need encouragement, not condemnation. That's what I try to deliver." Traoré nodded slowly, but his response cut like a blade. Encouragement without truth is like medicine without healing power. It numbs the pain but never cures the disease. Christianity wasn't built on comfort, Joel. It was built on blood, sweat, and tears. Early Christians were persecuted, hunted, murdered because they stood for something bigger than themselves. He paused, letting that sink in. Yet in this modern era, Christianity has been commercialized into a brand. Preachers fly private jets while children starve outside their gates. Churches build golden monuments while homeless people freeze on the sidewalks beyond their doors. Is this the Christianity that Christ died for? Or is this a marketplace built using his name? The audience exploded. Wild applause mixed with angry boos and heated whispers. Social media feeds ignited as millions watched worldwide. Hashtags started trending within minutes. Hashtag Traoré spoken, hashtag Osteen confronted, hashtag Christianity truth. Joel raised both hands, trying to calm the chaos. Mr. President, I respect your passion, but aren't you being somewhat harsh? Churches do tremendous good. We help communities. We feed the poor. We unite people. Traoré's eyes narrowed like a predator focusing on prey. And yet the poor remain poor. Injustice remains untouched. Corruption thrives unchallenged. Tell me, Joel, how many times have you stood before wealthy donors and demanded they change their ways? How many times have you confronted your government about oppression? The Bible you quote says, "The love of money is the root of all evil." Yet many so-called shepherds worship money like it's God himself. This isn't Christianity. This is idolatry wearing holy robes. The tension became electric. Viewers online couldn't look away from their screens. What started as a friendly interview had exploded into the most brutal faith confrontation ever broadcast live. Joel, usually unshakable in his calm authority, looked genuinely rattled. But Traoré was just warming up. He stood and walked across the stage, military boots echoing on polished floors. In Africa, he said, his voice quieter but burning with intensity, we understand suffering. We know hunger. We know what it means to cry out to God with empty stomachs. And I have watched too many preachers arrive with shining shoes and camera crews, making grand promises, only to leave with people's money while abandoning those people in chains. His voice rose like thunder building. I tell you tonight, Joel, if Christianity means anything in this century, it must return to truth. It must embrace justice. It must demand sacrifice. Otherwise, it becomes nothing but theater. The words hit like hammerfalls. Joel had no immediate answer. The audience squirmed in their seats. Some nodding agreement, some frowning in confusion, others already filming reaction videos on their phones. But Traoré wasn't finished. Christianity is not about building bigger churches. It's about building stronger hearts. Not about filling seats. It's about filling lives with courage. Not about promising wealth. It's about preparing souls for battle. And if that truth makes people uncomfortable, so be it. Because Christ himself made the powerful uncomfortable. Christ himself called out temple hypocrites. And if he walked this earth today, he wouldn't be sitting in megachurch VIP sections. He'd be in the streets with the poor, the broken, the oppressed. The entire hall shook with divided emotion. Some cheered like they were witnessing prophecy. Others sat stunned, unable to process such boldness in their comfortable sanctuary. Joel finally stood, his voice trembling slightly. Mr. President, I hear your concerns, but surely we can agree that God is love, and love is what we must share. Traoré stopped pacing. He stared directly at Joel, then slowly nodded. Yes, Joel. God is love. But love is not silence. Love is not avoidance. Love does not ignore injustice. True love demands truth. True love demands sacrifice. True love demands courage. And if Christianity forgets this, then it has lost its very soul. The crowd erupted in thunderous, completely divided applause. Some clapped for Joel's courage to endure the confrontation. But many more clapped for the raw, unfiltered truth that had just been unleashed. The broadcast ended, but shockwaves rippled far beyond that studio. Video clips went instantly viral, news headlines buzzed globally, and people debated across every continent. Some attacked Traoré for being too aggressive. Others hailed him as prophetic. But nobody could deny that something earth-shaking had just happened, that a truth had been spoken which could never be unheard. In the weeks afterward, churches and believers worldwide began questioning their own understanding of Christianity. Was faith about prosperity or sacrifice? About comfort or transformation? And many people, quietly and privately, began realizing that Ibrahim Traoré's challenge wasn't just aimed at Joel Osteen. It was about all of us.